Ladies and gentlemen. We only have one gentleman now, Salman. Oh, there's other people probably, but they're turning the cameras off. Well, I'm a gentleman as well. Alright. I call this course the IELTS Lifesaver course. And I want you to pay attention, not just to the titles, but also to the subtitles of each slide. Read them. Do not ignore them. They are like small motivational quotes for you. Yeah? So this is an emergency prep. To save your score. Previously, I used to prepare students for the IELTS in more than 50 hours. 50 hours after editing. Yeah? So I would spend like 12 hours just doing the writing. 16 hours doing the reading. 10 hours doing the listening. But I realized that this doesn't work for all the students, because a lot of students do not really have time to watch 50 plus hours of content. Yeah? It's not even like a Turkish TV series. Yeah? Very long. Imagine watching a TV series for 50 episodes. Yeah? It's very difficult. So I came up with this idea. Well, it's not really a creative idea, but I'm gonna compress everything in less than 15 hours. And after I do the editing, it's going to be like 10 hours of content. And in these 10 hours, 10 to 12 hours, you're gonna have everything that you need. Yeah? Everything that you need to go and do the exam. There's no need to go and watch YouTube videos and all of these kind of things. I'm going to prepare you for the exam in a very short period of time. Obviously, it's gonna take us 2 weeks because we are doing it live. But once this is recorded, because it is recorded, I'm gonna compress it to maybe 10 hours. Okay? So that's why I called it IELTS Lifesaver. And look at I tried to use AI in this course. Yeah? So the images are created by AI. Yeah? Because if you don't use AI, you're not gonna lose your job because of AI. You're gonna lose your job to someone who knows how to use AI. Yeah? AI is artificial intelligence. So you have to use it in your daily life. So I'm trying to use AI to generate all the images in this course to, add a touch of AI. Okay? Alright, so welcome to this course, the IELTS Lifesaver, which is going to be saving your life, or technically saving your score. Yalla. The schedule of the course. Look at the images, huh? This is also AI. Yeah? By the way, I spend more time on creating the images than teaching, or than preparing the slides, but it's okay. I think it adds a really good touch. Alright. We're gonna start every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 9:30 p.m. Dubai time. Since 90% of the participants are from Iraq, it's 8:30 p.m. Iraq time. And I know Iraq is very big, but I think it's one time zone. Whether you live in Erbil, Baghdad or Basra, it's gonna be 8:30 p.m. Yeah? I know about geography, by the way. Yeah? Erbil, Baghdad, Basra. Okay? So 8:30 p.m. Iraq time. And it's gonna last for 2 weeks. Yeah? So 3 days a week. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Okay? And each session is roughly going to be 2.5 hours. So we're starting roughly around 9:30. We're going to be finishing around 12, which is 11 Iraq time. Yeah? Okay? This is how the course is going to work. To get the best out of this course, look at the photos, yeah? To get the best out of this course, I want you to stay in a quiet space. Yeah? Do not sit next to a parrot. In other words. Yeah? Yeah, Ghafran? Yeah? Sit at a quiet space at a desk. Yeah? Not lying in bed or on the sofa, yeah, at a desk, because we're gonna be doing real work. Use a laptop, do not use your phone. Use a laptop, do not use your phone. Or if you have a desktop, use it. Why? Because if you're using your phone, you're just gonna go to Instagram and scroll through reels. Yeah, and you're gonna get a WhatsApp message from your husband or from your wife or whatever. Yeah, and it's just gonna be distracting. Yeah, use a desktop or a laptop if you're being serious. Yeah, and turn your phone off, or at least put it away. Yeah, trust me. Yeah, because use me, take advantage of me. Yeah, I'm here to motivate you. If you do not use me, you're just wasting your time. Trust me. And take notes. Yeah, have a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil and take notes, because we're gonna take a lot of notes. Do not rely on, oh, Isa, you know what, send me the slides. I'm not gonna send you the slides, because these images and the slides, I spend a lot of time creating them on ChatGPT. Yeah, because ChatGPT does not create them very quickly. You have to tell them, all right, change the book, change this. It takes a lot of time. So I'm not gonna send you the slides. Do not rely on me sending you the slides. Do not rely on screenshots. You can take screenshots, but take notes. And attend every lecture. It's only 6 lectures. Attend all of them to get the best out of the course. Yeah, attend all the lectures. It's only 2 weeks. And we can add a few lectures here and there if I feel like I'm spending a lot of time doing certain things, because you know, when you arrange the course, I have a plan in mind, but sometimes you have to tweak it a little bit. Yeah, okay. And by the way, before me keeping going, do you understand me when I talk? Do I speak clear enough, or do you think it's difficult when I talk? Say number one if you understand me well. Yeah, my accent is good. Good accent. Yeah, okay. Yeah, because some people told me, why don't you speak in Arabic? We're not learning Arabic. We're learning English. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, good. I speak slow as well. Yeah. I'm trying to sound Australian. But you have to fake it sometimes. Yeah. If you don't fake it, you're not gonna make it. Yeah, Asma. All right. Oh, who am I? I think I already told you. Yeah. But let's go through the bullet points. Yeah. I founded Top Sport Academy, as I told you. Over 6 years of teaching experience. That's me. Got an overall score of 8 in the IELTS and 9 in listening and in reading, which is the full score. I took the IELTS multiple times for the academic and the general version, and I trained 600 students worldwide. This is on the website. Cambridge University certified. I have CELTA from Cambridge University, and I have TKT. And by the way, CELTA stands for Certificate of English Language Teaching to Adults. TKT stands for Teaching Knowledge Test. Yeah, you can Google him. You can Google them, okay? I'm mentioning this because I want you to understand or to know who I am. Yeah? All right, focus with me. So, there are 2 types of skills to pass the IELTS. We have English language skills and we have test taking skills. For you to be able to pass the IELTS exam, if you are William Shakespeare, you're not going to pass the IELTS exam if you do not have test taking skills. You should know how the test is organized. What are the components of the IELTS? How to manage the time? What are the sections? Yeah. So we have English skills and we have test taking skills. In this course, I'm not going to be teaching you English. This is not an English course. I'm not going to help you to improve your English in this course. I cannot improve your English in 2 weeks. Even William Shakespeare cannot do this. Yeah? Yeah? So I'm not going to be helping you improve your English. It's not an English course. It is an IELTS preparation course. I'm going to help you familiarize yourself with the exam. Meaning, I'm going to tell you about the exam. I'm gonna tell you how to solve the problems in the exam, how to answer the questions of the exam, what to expect in the exam. Okay? But obviously I'm speaking in English, everything is in English. Your English is gonna be improved a little bit, but it's not an English language course. I'm not gonna teach you reported speech and passive voice and pronunciation. I cannot. Okay, is it clear? Because I know a lot of you do not know what the IELTS is, because a lot of people enrolled, and I have a question that says, what IELTS are you trying to do? Academic or general, or I don't know. 50% of people, they say I don't know. I don't know means you might be expecting this to be like an English course, yeah? It's not an English course. It's an IELTS preparation course, okay? And at the end of the course, which means Friday next week, I'm gonna give you a good surprise, yeah? Only for the students who attend all the lectures, yeah? Only the ones who are attending all the lectures. Oh, Mena, you look tan. Did you go to the beach today, Mena? You didn't put sunscreen? We'll talk after the lesson, yeah? Mena is also one of my previous students. She's a lovely student, yeah? Annoying sometimes, but not all the time. Alright. When I teach you, by the way, are you focusing on the images or no? They're not from Google, I created them. Pay attention to the images, yeah? Give me a heart for the images. Look at the images, look, oh. Can you see? Heart, more heart, yeah? Alright, thank you. Look at this one. And it's like customized for the eyes. Look, speaking, tips, stop, yeah? So pay attention. I want you to imagine if the slides were with no images. Trust me, it's gonna be very boring. Yeah? So I have my touches. When I teach, I like to teach by making my students visualize what they're going to be teaching or what they're going to be learning. Yeah? I'm not going to teach you randomly. No, I want you to follow me when I'm teaching. Yeah? So this is the roadmap. In other words, this is the map that I want you to take a screenshot of, and I want you to use it for the coming slides or the coming even sessions. Because this is like your map. I want you to know exactly what we're going to be cover during this course so you don't get lost. In this course, I divided the course into chapters. 7 chapters. Chapter 1 is going to be about IELTS 101, which means introduction to the IELTS. In other words, basic information about the IELTS. Chapter 2, it's going to be about authentic study materials, where to print and get past exams, official study materials. Chapter 3 is going to be about certain words that you have to know for this course. Chapter 4 is going to be about listening, and then reading, and then writing, and then speaking. You can take a screenshot of this slide or write it down, because now when I'm going to be covering the slides and all the topics, I want you to to follow me so you don't get lost, yeah? Not just because you're an English teacher. See, the teachers are gonna love the way I Isma? That's fine. You can steal my ways. It's okay. Yeah? Mena good, yeah? Ingi, yeah? Your camera is not working well. Okay? You take a screenshot of this, because now I'm going to show you another slide. Okay? So what I'm going to be teaching you, 7 chapters. Chapter 1 is going to be IELTS 101, which is an introduction to the IELTS. And then where to study from, and then words to know, and then listening, reading, writing, and speaking. Focus with me. For each skill that we're going to be covering, the listening, the reading, the writing, and the speaking, we're gonna break it down into sub-chapters. Yeah? So we have 7 chapters, but the ones from 4 to 7 are also going to be divided again. We're gonna cover the components of each section, like the components of the listening. How many parts do we have in the listening, for example? How many parts do we have in the writing? And then I'm gonna show you the answer sheet, how to use the answer sheet for each section. And then I'm gonna teach you how to manage your time for each section. And then I'm gonna tell you about the popular topics that keep coming up in each section. What topics are you gonna be listening about? What topics are you going to be writing about? What topics are you going to be reading about? Okay? And then the question types in each section. What are the types of questions that you're going to be facing? Multiple choice questions, sentence completion questions, essay writing questions. I'm going to show you. And then scoring. How your score is calculated. How do you get a 9? How do you get a 5? How do you get a 6? In each section, okay? So you understand. And then how to study alone, which is a sub-chapter where I teach you what should you do to study by yourself. Okay? So this is the breakdown of each chapter from 4 to 7. Okay? Why am I showing you this? Because the way I teach, my style is to be is being consistent. I'm not gonna just teach you random stuff. Oh, let's do this. No. When I teach you, have this in your mind. Yeah? Everything is gonna link to it. Is it clear? You wanna sleep? You need a blanket? Huh? Wake up. Huh? Salman, is it clear? Do something, say this, heart, anything, just to motivate me, because I feel like I'm talking to myself. Yeah? Is it clear? Clear. All right. Let me move to the the following slide. Yeah? Ali, welcome Ali. Ali Ismail. Look at the photos. All the photos are AI generated. Yeah? Now, chapter 1. Chapter 1. IELTS 101. Read the subheading. The format you know, the scores will show. They rhyme. Yeah? The format you know, the scores will show. What does it mean? If you know the format, the scores will show. Okay? Alright. IELTS 101, and look at the photos. Focus. He said, we are sick of the photos. Teach us, for God's sake. All right. Number 1, what is the IELTS? The IELTS is technically the International English. It's the International English Language Testing System. See? It's the International English Language Testing System. What is that? It's a proficiency test. What does that mean? It's a test that evaluates your level of English. Yeah? Yeah? It's a test that you take to say that you are a good speaker, or you are a bad speaker, or you don't know how to speak English. Yeah? And there is a score for this test. It is from 0 to 9. You can get a 0. Well, 0 means technically you didn't take the test. You can get 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way until 9. 9 is the highest. In other words, if you bring Barack Obama or Donald Trump, for example, or Joe Biden, they might get an 8. They're not going to get a 9, because it's not just about English. It's also about how you do the test. Yeah? So the highest score is 9. Can you get a 9? Yes, you can. You can get a 9. Some people do get a 9 in the IELTS. Yeah? And you don't even have to be a native speaker to get a 9. Just letting you know. Most people get a score from 5 to 7. 5 to 7 is the normal score. Yeah? So if you're below average, 5. If you're average, 6. If you're above average, 7. Okay? The duration of the exam is roughly 3 hours. Roughly 3 hours. Yeah? That includes the 4 sections. What are the 4 sections? I will show you. There are 2 streams of the exam. When I say streams, I mean versions. Yeah? There is the academic version and there is the general training version. Like the IELTS is one test, but it has 2 versions. The academic version is what we use for university acceptance. If you want to study in Australia, Canada, the UK, or America, they will ask you for the academic version of the IELTS. But if you want to immigrate to Australia and to Canada, they're going to ask you for the general version of the IELTS. Okay? What are the differences? I will show you. They are almost the same, but there is a few differences. The exam itself is divided into 4 main sections. Listening, which is exactly the same for both streams. So whether you're doing the general version or whether you're doing the academic version, it's exactly the same. And then you have reading, which is almost the same for both streams. Like there is a difference, but it's a small difference. And then the writing, it's 2/3 the same. In other words, 66% of the writing exam is going to be the same for both streams. And then the speaking section, which is exactly the same for both streams. That's why, regardless whether you're going to be taking the academic version of the test or the general training version of the test, we are going to study like one family. Why? Because there is minor differences between the academic version and the general training version. Okay? The main difference is technically in the writing section. Okay? So we're going to be studying the listening together, the reading together, and 66% of the writing section together and the speaking together. Yeah? So do not worry whether you're taking whether you are taking the reading, whether you're taking the academic or the general training version, we're going to be studying like one family. I like this. All right. You can take the test on paper or you can do it on computer. Yeah? I think in Iraq it's only paper. I think. I'm not sure. Yeah? Because there are certain... they're both of them? Okay, sorry. I didn't know. Yeah? There are certain centers who have computers, other centers do not have computers. But you can do it on paper and you can do it on computer. Yeah? There's a few differences between both of them, but the way you study is the same. Okay? But in this course, I'm going to be focusing on the paper version. Why? Because I'm old school. I'm an old man. I like to use a pen and paper. Yeah? Like Salman. We are old Salman. Yeah? Okay? Do not worry. Even if you're doing the computer thing, it's not a big difference. Look at this one. You asked me. Was it you? No, that was another guy. You have to subscribe to our channel, by the way, on Instagram. Yeah, because yes, it's not active, but it's going to be active. Please, you can type it down. This is the name is Top Sport Academy, but the username is Top Sport Education. Yeah, so you can go to Instagram. YouTube, type in Top Sport Academy. I have a lot of videos that I've recorded long time ago that I will start uploading on my YouTube channel. Yeah, not even these ones, from the past. For example, if you want to know more about the IELTS, like the basics, like for example, if you wanted to immigrate to Australia or to Canada, there's like the point system of immigration. I explain it over there. Yeah, what is the difference between the paper and the computer version of the exam? It's over there. How often do you take the IELTS? It's there. The expiry date of the IELTS certificate, it's there. Yeah, there's a lot of videos that talk about these topics in detail. But because this course is compressed, I cannot talk about everything. Okay? But please go to the channel, like, comment, and subscribe. I want to be a YouTuber. Yeah, so help me. Okay. All right. Study materials. This is chapter 2. You remember the screenshot that you took? Chapter 1 was IELTS 101. We finished it. Now we finished chapter 1. Now we're moving to chapter 2. Study materials. Look at the subheading and look at the photo. Official guides where success resides. Yeah? They rhyme. Yeah? Official guides resides. And this photo, if you look at the photo, this is not a normal photo. Yeah? Not a random one. This is the University of Cambridge in the background. This is the campus of the university. Why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this because you know who owns the IELTS? The University of Cambridge. Yeah? The University of Cambridge is one of the owners of the IELTS. What does that mean? This means if you want to study, you have to study from Cambridge University Press books only. Why? Because they own the IELTS. In other words, do not study from books or websites that are not related to Cambridge University Press. Why? Because they include a lot of mistakes. They do not really follow the IELTS guidelines. Yeah, it's just gonna confuse you. Study from these books. Take a photo of this book. This is a book from University of Cambridge or Cambridge University Press that has a lot of versions. It goes from 1 until probably 17 now. Each book has around 6 exams, past exams. Yeah? And these are like actual past exams. You can also find them online. Yeah? You can go to a bookshop and buy them, or you can find them online and download them. Yeah? Do not study from other websites because it's just going to confuse you. And in these books, obviously you have all the 4 sections. You have the listening, the reading, the writing, and the speaking. Obviously, the writing and the speaking do not have answers, yeah, because it depends from one person to another person, yeah. But the reading and the listening, there is the answer key, yeah. So you can evaluate your score based on the answer key in the book, okay. So where to study from? You study from Cambridge University books, okay. So this is chapter number 2. Remember, chapter number 1 was IELTS 101. Chapter number 2 was study materials. Chapter 3, look at the photo. Words to know. Salman, oh, you're drawing on the screenshot. Salman, wait. Dalal, block Salman. I'm joking. Dalal, just disable this option. Yeah, if you can't, just remove him. Wait, I think you have to click on because we have to remove this. 1 second, Salman. Salman, you're a big troublemaker. Clear drawings, okay? It's okay, Salman. It happens. Okay. See, Salman, you wasted 2 minutes of our time. Isa, you wasted half an hour talking about yourself. Now you're talking about this poor guy. All right. Words to know, because these words that you're gonna know, I'm gonna be using them while my see, I'm not even an English speaker now. I'm gonna be using them when I explain. Know them today and you will find your way. Again, know them today and you will find your way. Okay? What are these words, Isa? Please tell us. We are so excited to know about these words that we will know them today and they're gonna help us find our way. Alright, let me show you. Oh, Salman. All right. Look at the photos. Let me have some water. So far, so good. Are you engaged? Yeah? If you're not engaged, I will just finish the class and go home. Are you engaged? Yeah, say yes. Do say something. Yeah, thank you. Let me have some water. Asma, Salman, Sarah, Menna, Ali, Ghafran, and Miriam. Wallah, because of you, I'm doing this. Why? Because you help me focus, because you're turning the cameras on. So I really do appreciate it, to be honest. The other people, I love you as well, as brothers and sisters, obviously. Some of you cannot turn the cameras on, I understand. But when I teach, I'm looking at you. And it helps me deliver. Yeah, so thank you. I'm golden. So thank you very much. I just want to show you my appreciation because I'm looking at you now. Yeah, I'm looking at Asma and Salman and Sarah and Mina. Yeah, just letting you know. So thank you very much. Yeah. All right. What are these words that you should know? 3 words: paraphrasing, synonym, antonym. These words, I'm going to be using them while I'm explaining. So you have to know what they mean. Look at these 2 sentences. Sentence 1. The movie was interesting. And look at the photo. People are having popcorn and soft drinks, and there's no movie technically. Yeah, this is ChatGPT. Sometimes they create weird images. Okay? They're looking at the sun. Okay? The movie was interesting. This is sentence number 1. Sentence number 2. The film was far from boring. Oh, wow. Isa, isn't this the same thing? Yes, it is. Yeah? The movie was interesting. The film was boring. 2 sentences that mean the exact same thing. When we change them from one sentence to another, we call this paraphrasing. Write it down. What do we call it? Paraphrasing. Yeah? A phrase is a group of words. Para means something similar. Paraphrasing, a similar phrase, a similar sentence. Like when you say a paralegal, like a lawyer but not really a lawyer, similar to a lawyer, a paralegal. When you say paramedic, yeah, it's technically like a nurse, something similar to a medical doctor. Yeah, so paraphrasing means changing the words in a sentence but keeping the same meaning. Yeah? How do we change the words in a sentence? You can change the words in a sentence in so many different ways. Some of these ways are these ones. When you use synonyms, synonyms are words that have the exact same meaning. Movie and film are synonyms. Big and large are synonyms. Small and tiny are synonyms. Isa and Isa are synonyms. And Jesus, yeah, synonyms. Okay? Nur and light are synonyms. Yeah, Golden? Okay, so you can use synonyms to change the words in a sentence. And you can also use antonyms. These are the words that have the opposite meaning. Interesting and boring are antonyms. Fat and thin are antonyms. Tall and short are antonyms. Light and dark are antonyms. Yeah, Golden? But you're light. Okay? So how do you paraphrase? You can paraphrase using synonyms, and you can also paraphrase using antonyms. Yeah? But obviously when you use antonyms, you have to use the negative form of the sentence. You can say he is tall, and you can also say he is not short. So these 3 words are important. Write them down. Paraphrasing, which means changing the words in a sentence but keeping the same meaning. Synonym is a word that have the exact same meaning of another word. Antonym is a word that has the exact opposite meaning of another word. Clear? Clear. Look at the photo. And these are like up-to-date ones, yeah, because of the US elections, yeah. 3 more words. Skimming, keyword, scanning. Yeah? We covered paraphrasing, synonym, antonym. Now we have 3 more words. Skimming, keyword, and scanning. When I give you a paragraph, and this paragraph is talking about a specific topic, and I would ask you to read it quickly to tell me what this paragraph is about. And you read it quickly, and you tell me, Isa, you know what? The US president election marked a historic moment as Donald Trump proclaimed, this is about the American election. This means that you just skimmed. This means that you've just skimmed the paragraph, which means you read it quickly and you understood the general idea of the paragraph. So what is skimming? Skimming is to go through a paragraph quickly to understand the general subject of the paragraph. You don't really have to know the details. You just look at it. Donald Trump election US 2025. It's about 2025 US election. That's it. This is called skimming. When I give you a question, like a sentence completion question, and I'll tell you to complete this sentence, for you to be able, Mina, you want to play with your phone or you want to focus with us? See, I'm like an old teacher, yeah? I have to do this sometime. Mina, what's wrong with you? Focus. Please. I have to be a little bit strict sometimes. Okay, so when I give you this question, and I want to tell you to complete this sentence, how would you complete the sentence? You have to highlight the key words. Focus. Key words. The word key does not mean key when you go and open the door. Key is an adjective that means important, by the way. So a key word means an important word. Yeah? A key word means an important word. So it's a word that is important that tells you what the passage is about. For example, the ones that I've highlighted are keywords. Donald Trump is technically a key phrase, but let's call it just keyword. There's 2 words, but let's just call it 1 word. Why it's an important word? Because you cannot change this word. You cannot change it. It's an important word that tells you what this passage is about. 2025 is a keyword or key information, important information. The word election is a key word because it tells you what the topic is about. But for example, when you say the is not a key word because it doesn't tell you anything. Or a, or is, or his. I've just heard something. 1 second. Dalal, are you helping me or where's Dalal? Wallah, Dalal, you're a troublemaker. You can hear me properly, yeah? Yeah? So his, her, them, these ones are not keywords. They're not important. But the keywords are most of the time, not all the time, are the nouns. They can also be adjectives. But numbers, yeah, numbers are important. These are the important information, or this is the important information that would help you understand what the question is about or what the passage or the paragraph is about. Okay? So we covered skimming, which is technically going through the passage quickly to understand the general topic. And we have the word keyword, which is an important word in the passage or in the question that tells you what the passage is about. And then you have the word scanning. Scanning is when you go through the passage looking for the keywords. For example, can you see my cursor? Can you see it? Okay. Let's say I'm reading the question and I found a keyword which is 2025 US, which is USA. If I want to go and find the answer in the passage, I'm going to go and scan for 2025 US. Yeah? Scan or scanning is looking for keywords. Okay? So we have skimming, which is reading quickly to understand the general topic. We have keywords, and these are the important words in the question or in the passage. And then we have scanning, which is looking for the keywords. Lovely? Thumbs up if you understood. So we've covered paraphrasing, synonyms, antonyms, skimming, keyword, scanning. And we are in chapter 3. We've covered IELTS 101. We've covered study materials, which is chapter 2. And now we've just finished chapter 3, which is words to know. Okay? So you're following me now, yeah? Lovely. And look at the photo. Yeah? It's related to the text. Oh, I haven't finished the slide. Look. Yeah? The answer is swing states. Don't worry. But, yeah. You know what swing states are, by the way? You don't know? You don't know. Okay. Let me give you a quick piece of information. I do not like to study to teach you all the time. I can teach you something about politics. Yeah, quickly. In the US, we have 50 states. And we have two main parties. A party in Arabic is a hizb, yeah? A party, not a hafla. Hafla is not related to politics, but in this case, it's a hizb, yeah? So we have two parties. We have the Democratic Party, and this one is where Obama is from. No, it's from the party that Obama and Joe Biden belong to. And then we have the Republican Party, and this one, the Bush and Donald Trump belong to. Yeah, the states in the USA, they vote for certain parties. Yeah, the blue ones are the democratic states, where the majority of the population vote for these candidates who belong to this party. The red ones are called the Republican states. Okay, and over the past, a lot of states are known to vote for specific parties. However, there are certain states that are called the swing states. Sometimes they vote for the Republican Party, sometimes they vote for the Democratic Party. You know what a swing is? You know, you do this. Yeah, Ali is doing this. Yeah, yeah. The murjaha, yeah, the swing. So swing state, this means sometimes he, sometimes they. Sometimes he, sometimes they. Yeah. So how did Donald Trump win? The swing states voted for him. Yeah. Isa, we're talking about politics now? I'm leaving. No, don't leave. I'm just trying to make you understand the photo, because I probably spent like half an hour creating this photo. Anyway. Chapter 4. Listening. Tune your ear. Conquer fear. Look at the subheading, Asma. Tune your ear. Conquer, which means defeat, fear. Nargis is loving the work I'm doing. Thank you, Nargis. I appreciate it. Because you're a teacher, you know how it feels. Thank you, Nargis. Why I cannot read the chat? 1 second. Are you guys using the chat? Huh? Oh, Dalal is responding to people on chat. Yeah, because I'm not looking at the chat. The admin, my sister Dalal, is gonna respond to the questions. Thank you. Thank you, Dalal. All right. So we've covered 3 sections or 3 chapters. IELTS 101. Study materials. Words to know. Now, listening, and then reading, and then writing, and then speaking. Thank you, Golden. Have you looked at the photo? Show appreciation. Now let's move. Look at the photo again. Isa, we're sick of the photo. It's not like an arts class. All right. Now focus with me. When we cover listening, we have sub-chapters now. In chapter 1, 2, 3, we didn't have sub-chapters. Now we have sub-chapters. So focus. In each skill, we're going to cover these topics. The components of this skill. The answer sheet of this skill. How to manage your time. Popular topics. Question types. Scoring. And how to study alone. Even though you're studying with me. But maybe you don't like me that much. You want to study solo. I wouldn't say no. Okay? So far so good, yeah? Is everything clear and organized in your head? Ali, electricity, yeah. What happened to electricity? Okay. Habibi. Okay? Everything is clear. Beautiful. We have 50 participants. You know, I sent the email to 500 people, only 50 turned up. Can you believe this? See, I'm very disappointed. That's why I only love you. The 50 students I have in front of me. So keep attending, otherwise I might lose the motivation. Yeah? You don't want me to lose motivation. If I lose motivation, it's a big problem for you and for me. So encourage me, so I encourage you. This is life. One second, let me just edit this because I made a mistake here. It's not subchapter 4.1. I'll remove this. See, I do everything alone. No, this is life. You have to conquer fear in this life alone. Allah, no one cares about you. Even your mom, obviously she cares about you, but she only wants you to live and eat and sleep. But she's not going to help you achieve your dreams. Allah. So you have to fight solo and study solo. Okay. Piece by piece. By Reem. Dalal. Reem Fawaz is typing on the screen. Block her. Block Reem. Remove her. Okay. Components of the listening exam. Piece by piece. Your score will increase. Again. Piece by By the way, you're laughing now. I spent probably half an hour just creating this. Yeah. Piece by well, Ali, teaching is easy. The most difficult part is how to be creative when you teach. How to do this photo, this, yeah. The components of the listening. Piece, by the way, and piece by piece, it's because it's components. So it's also related to the title. Yeah. So everything is related. Isa, khalas, we're sick of this. Move to the next slide. Piece by piece, your score is definitely going to increase. So what are the pieces or the components of the listening exam? We have 4 components of the listening exam. Part 1, which is easy peasy, lemon squeezy, pepperoni cheesy, which has 10 questions. Part 1, easy peasy, 10 questions. Part 2, easy peasy, lemon squeezy, 10 questions as well. So the first 20 questions are easy peasy, lemon squeezy, pepperoni, cheesy with Diet Coke. Part 3 is difficult. I don't have a song for this, just difficult. Okay? I'm sorry. Okay? This one is difficult. 10 questions. Part 4, also difficult. 10 questions. He said difficult and easy depends on what? Depends on the words they use. Depends on the speed of the recording. Depends on the accent and the clarity of the speaker. So, let's say you're like a moderate student. You're getting a 6 in the exam, for example. Most of your correct answers are going to be from part 1 and 2. Because it's the easiest. Yeah? So part 1 and 2, technically 80% to 100% of your answers should be correct in these parts. Because they speak slowly, the questions are easy, and the accent is clear. But in part 3 and 4, it's going to be difficult. And I will tell you why they are going to be difficult in the coming slides. So, the total, 10 and 10 and 10 and 10. What is the total? Tarabatta 10, 40. Okay? 10, 10, 10, tarabatta 10, 40. 40 questions in the listening. Okay? 40 pieces. Piece by piece, your score will increase. So this is the sub-chapter number 1. Yeah? You with me? Okay? We covered the components. Now, let's talk about the answer sheet let's talk about the answer sheet, which is the sub-chapter number 2. Know the sheet, ensure your feet. Feet is not feet and hand. Feet means the destiny. Yeah? Yeah. So if you know the sheet, the answer sheet, you will know your destiny. Okay? Clear? Do you know your destiny? He said depends on the sheet. Correct. Alright. The answer sheet of the listening looks like this. This is for the paper exam. Obviously in the computer exam, there's no answer sheet. This is the computer. $40 questions. Yeah. Why am I showing you this? Because you have to be familiar with the answer sheet. Because if you go to the exam, you don't know what the answer sheet is, it's just going to make you a little bit uncomfortable. The goal of this course is to make you familiar with everything. Yeah? And I can send it to you on email. By the way, it's on our website as a PDF file. Yeah? If you go to the website, topsportacademy.com, you go to the listening course, there is a place where you can download this. You just put in your email and you can download this file as a PDF file. Why is it important? Because when you're practicing, you have to print this answer sheet and use it. Why? Because in the exam, you will use it. So you have to be familiar with it. Okay? If you zoom in, it's going to look like this. Yeah? Questions, 20 columns on the left side. 20 answers on the left side, 20 answers on the right side. Okay? They're not going to deduct marks for the wrong answers. So if it's wrong, it's just going to give you a 0. Yeah? So, correct answer, you'll get a mark wrong answer, you'll get a 0. If you miss an answer, you'll get a 0. If you do a good job, you will get a mark. If you do a bad job, you will get a big 0. Okay? This is the answer sheet. This is sub-chapter number 2. You with me? Listening? We covered the piece by piece, the components, and now the answer sheet. Now, how to manage your time. Seconds. I'm not gonna read all of them, but just the first few ones. Seconds to spare. Listen with care. Okay. How to manage your time in the listening section of the exam. I want you to focus. And do not worry, I'm gonna show you examples of the actual questions. But before I show you the examples and I play the recording with you, I have to explain a few things. Yeah, so do not worry, it's not just theory. We're gonna have practical exercises as well. Okay, so do not worry, okay? Thank you, Ali. Time management. In the listening exam, you have to skim. What is skim, Isa? I know skim milk when I order coffee. No. Here we're talking about reading the passage quickly to understand the general topic. Yeah. So you have to skim the questions beforehand, like before the recording starts, to highlight what? The keywords. What are these? The important words. Before the recording starts, you have to go through the questions quickly, skim them, and highlight keywords and scan for keywords. Okay? To be familiar with the questions. As I told you previously, we have 4 parts in the listening. Part 1, 2, 3, and 4. In each part, we have a pause at the beginning of the part, in the middle of the part, at the end of the part. We have 3 pauses for each part, except for part 4. In part 4, there is no pause in the middle. There is only a pause at the beginning and a pause at the end. Again, in each part of the listening exam, Mena, what are you having? Are you having knafa? Show us. What do you have? What do you have? Show us. Awama? What is this? Falafel? Invite us. That's okay. I'm joking with you. I thought you were on a diet. Oh, you're typing. Okay. So you're having awama and it's not even Ramadan. Sweet potato. MashaAllah, you're on a diet. Okay, enjoy your sweet potato, but focus, yeah? Where was I? See, Mena? Okay. I lost my train of thought because of Mena. Because of the awama she is having. Okay. So, in the parts of the listening, we have 3 pauses. At the beginning, in the middle, at the end. Except for part 4. That's why, by the way, part 4 is a little bit more difficult because there's no pause in the middle. Okay? And we have to use these pauses to skim the questions beforehand. We have to use these pauses efficiently. And do not be tricked. You know when I told you, you will have a pause at the beginning and in the middle and at the end? The one at the end, they would always tell you to check your answers for that specific part. Never ever check your answers at the end of the recording. Why? Because you have to use this time to look at the following questions, because you will have no enough time to go through all the questions. So they will tell you this: at the end of each part, they will tell you this. Now, you have 1 minute to check your answers for part 1. And my answer would be, no, I'm not going to be checking my answers for part 1 because this is a trap. I'm going to look at the following questions for part 2. They are tricking you, okay? Never ever check your answers at the end of each part. When do you check your answers? You check your answers when the recording for all the 4 parts is finished. Okay? This is important. Focus with me. Yeah, Mena? Focus with me. You use this time at the end of each part not to check your answers for that specific part, but to skim the questions for the following parts, because you'll have not enough time. And at the end of the recording, they will give you 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. In the exam, you will have the question booklet, which is maybe 6 pieces of paper of questions. And then you have the answer sheet, which is only 1 A4 paper. While you're listening, you're going to be writing your answers on the questions booklet next to the questions. But at the end, they will give you 10 minutes to transfer these answers to the answer sheet. Guess what happens to the question booklet? It goes to the rubbish bin. Again, guess what happens to the question booklet? It goes to the rubbish bin. So if you got all the answers correct on the question booklet, and if they are not on the answer sheet, you'll get a 0. Yeah? That's why when you're practicing at home, print out the answer sheet, get used to it, and transfer your answers to the answer sheet to copy and mimic the exam conditions. You might be asking me now, Isa, okay, how is this related to the photo? The photo has nothing to do with this. No, let me tell you, focus. If you're born in the 90s, you would know what this is. If you're born after 2000, you wouldn't know what this is. This is a cassette. Who knows what this is? Raise your hand if you know what this is. So you're all old, above 30? Ali, you look old. Yeah. You look above 30. Yeah, you all know this? Okay. So this is a cassette. Yeah? Back in the day, when I was born, when you want to rewind something, you put the pen inside the hole and you do this to rewind. Yeah? But now these people these days, they are spoiled. They just click a button and it's rewinded already. But back in the day, we used to be like real men. You have to put in work and effort to rewind the cassette, yeah? But see this tape? It's pulled from the cassette. This means it's pulled. This means you're not gonna hear the recording again. This means the recording in the listening exam is played once only. I hope that I made a good link, a connection, yeah? Even if not, just say yes, okay? In the exam, the recording is going to be played once only. So if you miss one answer, you're gonna get a 0. They're not gonna repeat the recording for you. They play it once. If you snooze, you lose. If you snooze, you lose. Okay? So it's important. That's why you have to be fully awake during the listening exam. Okay, so this is regarding time management. So in the listening, we covered the components, the answer sheet, the time management. Now we're going to be covering sub-chapter number 4, which is the popular topics. What do I mean by popular topics? These are the topics that you're going to be listening to in the listening exam. Like, are you going to be listening about rocket science? Are you going to be listening about people favorite hobbies? Yeah, these are the topics that you might expect in the listening exam. That's why I have this photo. You have a tree. I think tree means environment. Whatever. Topics. Okay? Topics you will hear. Prep with cheer. Whatever. Thank you, Aya. Appreciate it. Alright, how many parts do we have in the listening? 4. The first 2 are easy. The second 2 are difficult. In part 1, see the photo? Good photo. What is this about? It's going to be a dialogue. A dialogue, this means it's a chat between 2 people. Oh, golden. Correct. Yeah? A dialogue means a chat between 2 people. In part 1, you're going to be hearing a chat between 2 people about an everyday situation. Something normal that you would normally do. For example, someone calling the gym to inquire about membership fees. That's why we have this photo, by the way. Yeah? So it could be someone calling a restaurant to reserve a table. Or someone calling the hotel to book a room. Or you can use booking.com. Oh, I don't really like them, to be honest. The customer service is bad. I will start to use Expedia from now on. Yeah? But some people do still call hotels to book a room. Yeah? So in part 1, it's a normal chat between 2 people about something simple. Calling a hotel, a restaurant, a gym, a bookshop, or whatever. Okay? That's why it's easy. Remember when I told you part 1 is easy? Plus you will have a pause in the middle of part 1 as well. Having a pause will help you to look at the questions more, to be familiar with them. Part 2, it's not going to be a dialogue, it's going to be a talk. When I say a talk, this means like someone talking to a group of people. So it's one person talking to a group of people. Okay? And it's going to be about also everyday situation. Something simple. Something general. Engineer Fawaz. You ruined the screen. Dalal, block Engineer Fawaz. Dalal. Fawaz. Yeah? Get rid of him. Engineer Fawaz. What are you doing, Engineer Fawaz? Why are you doing this? You wasted 30 seconds of our time, our precious time. And Minna is having the sweet potato. MashaAllah. He said, leave me alone. How do we get rid of this? Engineer Fawaz, block, delete. No, I'm joking. I'll never block anyone. Only if someone is disrespecting us, obviously we block them. But you're all like, obviously respectful people, like Sarah, Minna, and Ali, and Golden. Yeah. But sometimes people who are not serious might join. We will block them directly. But look at Ismail and Salman. They're focusing, yeah, good human beings, gentlemen, like real gentlemen. Thank you. Okay, so part 2 is going to be a talk from one person to a group of people about everyday situation. It could be about someone like a tour guide, for example, talking to a group of tourists to show them around a museum, or a person taking a group of people around a farm, telling them, here is the sheep, here is the horses, here's the cows, yeah, showing them around a specific place. Yeah, so this is part 2. It's also easy most of the times. So we have part 1, which is a dialogue between 2 people about an everyday situation, like someone calling a gym. We have part 2, which is a talk from one person to a group of people about everyday situation, like a tour guide talking to a group of people in a museum. Music museum. The photos are good, huh? Not bad. Good, okay. Because I paid for these photos on ChatGPT Premium. So it's worth the subscription, or shall I cancel it? It's okay. Good, okay. It's probably $15. It's okay. Alright, part 3. In part 3, now it's going to be difficult. Remember when I told you about the parts? The first 2 were easy peasy. 3 and 4 are difficult. Why are they difficult, Isa? Can you tell me why? I will tell you why. Because now it's a discussion. What does a discussion mean? A discussion means you talk to another person. It's not like a dialogue, because a dialogue is like there is no points of view in a dialogue. There's just like a question and answer. But a discussion, I might tell you something, you might agree or you might disagree. And then you will give me your opinion, and then I give you my opinion, and then we will disagree, and then you might disagree. So it's a discussion. So the changes in the answers makes it difficult for you to know which one is the correct answer. So it's a discussion. Yeah? Between 2, 3, or 4 people sometimes. See the difficulty? Might be 2, might be 3, might be even 4 people. So it could be Sarah, Menna, Ali, and Salman. And you don't know who's talking. Is it Ali or Salman? Or is it Sarah? I don't know. And the question might tell you, okay, Sarah thinks that blah, 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 blah. You might be hearing Menna at that time. Yeah, so it's confusing. So it's a discussion between 2 to 4 people. And what makes it even more difficult, is that it's not about everyday situation. It's about an academic situation. So academic situation means like a group of students, for example, talking to each other about an assignment at university. So the words that they're going to be using about a specific topic, they're going to be specific words. Like they might, for example, use the word global warming, or greenhouse gases, or pollution. Well, pollution is easy, but you know what I mean. Specific words that you might not be familiar with, because it's academic topic. That's what makes it difficult. Okay? And the photo is a group of students. Yeah? But they're having fun, apparently. It's not gonna be, you're not gonna have fun in the exam. Yeah, you're gonna be crying, because it's gonna be difficult. Yeah? Okay, so this is part 3. Part 4. Remember, I told you part 4 is also difficult. Part 4 is a lecture. Lecture is also like a talk. One person talking. Very similar to part 2. Yeah? But the difference is, it's not going to be about everyday situation. It's going to be about an academic topic. A lecturer or a professor talking about the greenhouse gas emissions. Yeah? Or a professor talking about global warming. Or a professor talking about I don't know, something specific. Yeah? Something that you would never hear in your real life. Even in your, you would hear, but you wouldn't normally hear very often. So the words, the terms that are used are going to be academic terms. That's why it's a little bit more difficult. Okay, it's technically a professor or a lecturer giving a topic or a lecture or a speech about a specific academic topic. Okay, it is difficult, but not very difficult, by the way. And in part 4, as I told you, there will be no pause in the middle of the recording. I hope that you didn't forget this. Yeah, there will be no pause. This what makes it a little bit more difficult than the rest of the parts. All good? Yeah, all good. Yeah. By the way, we finished, because the rest of the slides are not finished yet.